everybody, and welcome back to the Blu Ray Hunter. I'm the Blu Ray Hunter, Jonathan Moody, and we got a new segment that we're just starting called Physical Media Chat. How to remember that? Because it's a little bit harder to, physical media is not an easier word to say than some of the,
It
some.
doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't, but I've got a guest here. My first guest I've decided to bring on because him and I have talked about collecting movies forever. That's kind of how we bonded and everything. And I decided to bring on John Ward of Dark Park Films. How are you doing, John?
I'm fine. How are you? Thank you for having me on. Thank you for making me your first guest, your first
I'm
guy.
very, so glad. And you know what I realized? I realized the other day or today that I wasn't following you on Blu Ray Hunter on the Instagram. Um, and I thought you were under Dark Park Films, but you're under John Lee Ward. So if in
Yes, but
Yep.
I'm barely on there. I think it's just stuff that just filters from Facebook over. I'm rarely
Oh,
on there.
okay.
I need to be on there. I need to go on there because there's probably a ton of stuff that needs to be deleted.
Okay.
So
You want to go there just to delete your stuff, but um
yeah,
I use Instagram a lot more now with the Blu-ray Hunter stuff because it's just a way to build with the community and chat with people, and I'm gonna have a lot of guests that are part of that community that'll be coming on the show. So I'm really excited about that, but I think that's what I think confused you because earlier you were thinking there was gonna be more people chatting about collecting and everything, and really it's just me telling you I was gonna have a bunch of guests, different guests that
gotcha.
would, you
Yeah.
know each episode. But so to kick it off, I'm gonna kick it off for everybody by asking like you know, when do you like can you pinpoint when you got into collecting movies? It doesn't necessarily it's physical media, so it could be Blu-rays, DVDs, whatever.
Well, yeah, I actually was thinking about this today. It is, I'm 55, so I remember when VHS was a big thing, and this is, of course, before computers and before the internet and all that type of stuff that you just have sitting in your home. And the big thing were bootleg movies that were not released. So there was what we used to call the hunt, and we would go to conventions and comic book stores and all this stuff trying to find VHS copies of like The Evil Dead
You were
before
the
it.
VHS hunter.
Yeah, we were. And it's like, we didn't know who Sam Raimi was. We just knew Stephen King recommended this movie called The Evil Dead. And it was shitty looking. And then, there was another one, Piranha 2, The Spawning. We had no idea who James Cameron was, but that was like a big one to find. And then Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead. And because that was not available anywhere. And my friends only saw it at conventions, and I bought the book of it. So that's another physical thing, is I bought the book that had pictures all inside.
Hmm.
And for a long time there was that they had their own hunt that was rumored in Dawn of the Dead, because we never see them shoot all the zombies, and it was, oh, that's been cut, it's called the hunt, so now we got to find this. And to me that was great, because you would go to conventions and you would find all of these VHS tapes of just movies you've never heard of before. And of course, now these days, a lot of those people are big, like directors and producers and stuff. But it was, you just didn't have this type of stuff, and you'd have to record stuff off of TV. So physical media for me started probably with VHS. Once my family got that VHS player, and then of course we got a second one, because then everybody learned how to dupe movies, and then that's when all the companies started putting in blockers. So like I had a black and white copy of Superman 2, because if you copied it, it came out black and white.
Hmm.
Or some things would flash, like it would be like a black flash throughout it, but we kept them, because for some of that stuff it was like the only way of getting it, because you couldn't really buy VHS a lot at that time. It was really expensive.
It was. I remember it being like $80 or something just for a VHS tape and shit.
Yes, Star Wars when it originally came out was $100, and
Jesus.
and I remember I never saw the movie in the theater, but I loved the trailer, which was for Evil Speak with Clint Howard. And I think for like my birthday, my mom gave me like a check because and she like figured out the price of it or whatever it was, and I think that was like $80. And that was my
Wow.
birthday present, was a VHS copy of a store-bought copy from like Fox of Evil Speak, and you would pull the box open so it kind of slid into it.
Nice. Yeah, it was a
And
slipcover before slipcovers.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So that would be it for me. Would be the just hunting down these VHS tapes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of the same way. Like, we used to copy, from VHS to like beta, and stuff, and then it was VHS to VHS and everything, and or sometimes off the television. And I had a lot of movies that were off the television, but then once I think it was really DVDs that got me into collecting. Like I would just do that because just like you said, VHS I would collect some, but I wasn't as big into VHS. I'm a little younger than you, so a little bit,
Yeah.
and so I would, my days were in the stores, when I was like what I was in the 90s. I was, 10 years old,
Wait, I'm sorry.
all that.
Continue talking. I just have to turn my oven off. So
Oh,
keep
okay. Do
talking. My
not
oven's
do
my oven's
not
right here.
have the house explode on my
Nope.
account.
No, no. I bought a pizza and I put it in the oven. I just wanted to warm it up and I forgot to turn it off. So there we go. I'm back.
There you
So
go.
go
Well,
on.
hopefully it wasn't burnt. So,
No, it should be okay. Hopefully.
okay. Yeah, so I mean, whatever. So it's a completely different time. So I get that. So VHS was your kind of gateway drug into, collecting.
Yeah, and I really think that's the one of the best times because like Tower Records used to have its outlet store, and you could go in and you would basically just buy the stuff that didn't sell in the regular store. So it could be t-shirts and records and stuff, but they always had the used movies.
Mm-hmm.
And because they would be rentals that they would rent out at their stores, and I guess they would sell them for like a few bucks. I would find a ton of stuff that way. It's because I was really into collecting Full Moon, and yeah, I guess it was like really early Full Moon, and then finding the Empire movies. And
Do you still collect Full Moon?
I do. I have. You can't really see it. It's yeah, it's on the third one over here. But yeah, yeah, I have like a shelf or two of it. I'm not as big into it as I used to be. Maybe because I just know the people now. So
Did
it's
it ruin did it ruin your collecting experience?
no, because then it doesn't really become a collection anymore. It's like you're not a fan anymore.
You're a
But I
friend.
still, yeah, and knowing like Brooks Davis and working with Tom Devlin and Alan Maxim and stuff like that. It's like it becomes something different. But I still have like two shelves of Full Moon stuff, and I when they have their sales, I bought some of the figures
Hmm.
and I bought some of the movies like End of the World because it was like $10. So yeah, I do, but just not like what I used to. I mean, I was
I mean, I
avid.
I don't know. To me, it's still a lot of fun because I think it was 2016, 17 or whatever. I started really going full on with collecting Full Moon. Started doing that. So I mean, I get it. Like, but I make sure that I mainly buy the Blu-rays unless it's a DVD that's not on Blu-ray. Then I pick those up. But I just
Yeah,
upgrade everything to that.
I think I'm more into the Roger Corman stuff, so I'm still collecting Roger Corman. And then, of course, knowing my friend Cliff, who works at Scream Factory, and they released a lot of the Roger Corman stuff on a lot of it on DVD and some of it then on Blu-ray. So it's I like collecting that because I just think Roger Corman is like a god to filmmaking. So I still like his stuff, the produced stuff and all of that. So I think I collect that more than I do the Full Moon. But now it is about studios for me. So like all this stuff, it's being organized, but it's all while they're releasing.
All that
So
releasing, yeah.
yeah, so this will all eventually go up to here, and then I'll put other companies in there too. So it really is about that. But it's weird because a lot of the physical stuff, like I mentioned, like the hunt and things that, but now there's, I mean, there's so much more. So you don't have to do
Hmm.
that. Like I remember going to when I was collecting Doctor Who, and like the girlfriend that I had at the time like wanted to break up with me because I wouldn't go out on, it was like Saturday nights at 11 o'clock was Doctor Who. And so I had to stay home and record Doctor Who because there was no other way of getting it. And there was nothing out there at that time. So it's just, and that really annoyed her. And now I look back going, yeah, I can understand that. I remember one time for like New Year's, it was New Year's Eve, and a channel was doing a marathon of Hercules movies. There was like 8 of them or something like that. And of course, and I had a girlfriend, and right at before midnight, I had to go home and switch the tapes, so I could get the whole thing. And it's but now you could just buy a collection.
Buy a
And
collection, or if you have like satellite or whatever, you could DVR it, that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so I guess that there's positive and positives and negatives. So to the whole thing, I mean, like I have something here that because this is for a stack of Dollar Tree ones that I'm going to do a video on a little bit later, but I'll use this as an example. This is you can now find Dollar Tree looks like it's coming back with stuff, and this is Dauntless: The Battle of Midway, and it's Judd Nelson and C. Thomas Howell.
Hmm.
Like, I want this. I got this. I now have a physical copy of it. I don't want it on streaming. I mean, Judd Nelson is one of my favorite, actors. I'd love to work with him. But I mean, who would think that this type of movie would be available on Blu-ray?
I
You
mean,
know,
interestingly enough, I mean, especially in the Dollar Tree, there's a lot of that. Um, but yeah, with Jed Nelson and C. Thomas Howell, they're both in a movie that Jackie Hall was in called Bigfoot Wars. You know,
oh, I know that one. Yeah, I've
yeah,
heard
it's
of it.
not a very good movie. We did it for Indie Film Cafe. It didn't get a 30 or anything, but it's pretty high up on the stinkometer, there. And it's mainly because it's rushed and whatnot, and not actually all the way. Like some of it's not even all the way filmed. It wasn't fully like finished.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty bad movie, but you look at it and you go, well, now that you know all that information, it makes it you don't feel as bad about you know what I mean, giving it
Right.
the review, because they shouldn't have done that. Should have released a movie that wasn't ready to be released.
Yeah, it's kind of like when the real story behind Silent Night, Deadly Night Part Two. You understand thanks to like Scream Factory and the commentaries and the documentaries and all of that we now understand why the movie was put together the way it was. But when I originally saw it was on VHS, and I hated it. It's just like, what the fuck? Because they were doing that with a lot of films. Like they did, there's a great one called Frightmare about like a horror host that dies and comes back and kills all these kids in like his mansion. And then they did Frightmare 2, and it was just footage from the first movie.
Oh.
It was that type of thing. Like 20 minutes of new footage, and then all of it was just recycled stuff. Boogeyman 2, like the original Boogeyman 2 was all footage from the original movie with
Oh,
new footage put in.
speaking of Full Moon, Puppet Master did one of those, like where they pretty much just use there's almost like a clip show of other movies, because they didn't have a full movie. They had like 30 minutes of a movie, and then they put the rest of is just like clips from the other movies. And I'm just like, I mean, I don't get it, but people are gonna rush out to get it, because it completes
I mean,
their.
if you know what they're doing, then I kind of like that stuff. In a way, it's just a long time ago you didn't know why they were doing that.
Yeah.
So it's but now you can. And I just don't get the thrill of streaming as much as I do buying a copy. So yeah, so if I knew Full Moon had a Puppet Master movie that just had footage from other movies, I would probably buy it just to put it in the collection. But if it's streaming, I don't really care, you
Now,
know.
streaming for me works for the reviews, when I do reviews and stuff, because, it's easier for me, if I do a review that has Zoom with you and like Dustin, like we've done a few together and stuff, and you did Totem, which is a full moon movie with Dustin Hubbard, with myself, we could all watch it from Tubi, and stuff. So streaming works for me in that sense. But yeah, if I liked Totem, which we all decided wasn't that great, I own a
Yeah.
copy of it on DVD. But if I really liked it and it was on Blu-ray, I would upgrade it to Blu-ray, because I enjoyed it. I'd want to keep it.
Yeah. It's. I think with Totem, I don't. I think I do own a physical copy of it. I think I have it twice. One is the actual movie, and then it's a double feature with something.
Oh,
So the one that confused us, and this is where it's kind of streaming versus physical, is the Ted Mooring movie that we did.
oh
The
yeah.
one what's the name of it?
Ref no, cat. It was a rep. It was a rep. Ah, start with an R.
Like Reploids.
Yeah, Reptoids or something.
Yeah, and I own it, so I watched the DVD, but I think you guys watched it on streaming and you had a different version.
We had a different
And
version,
and we
yeah.
didn't know that. So we kind of
And
went
it
back
got
and
very
forth
confusing
on it.
because then we're
Yeah,
all talking about different stuff,
yeah.
you know.
So it's really a mixed bag. I mean, it's plus, I mean, just as I'm sure if you turned your camera, around and looked at your room, you'd have a lot of physical copies of stuff. And
I
I
do.
mean, I got all this stuff behind me, and it's and in front of me and the side of me and all that. I mean, I prefer just a physical copy much more. But the weird thing is I'm not a VHS collector. I think I have 4 VHS tapes, and that's because they're not available like
Right.
anywhere. But there are people out there who watch VHS over anything else.
There are a lot, there are collectors of VHS, and there's collectors of VHS, there's collectors of books, there's collectors of records, laser discs, people collect whatever physical media they want, and to me that's amazing, especially if you're like passionate about what you collect.
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
but it's weird is I like physical movies, but all my music is digital. Like I have a CD, it's section that's like this big. And but everything I have is digital. And it just doesn't, for music, it just doesn't interest me as much to have like a CD. Like
Well,
all my
right.
sound, I got like 1,000 soundtracks. They're all digital.
That to me is like, and I put mine on a thumb drive, and then I just bring the thumb drive into my car and listen to music. I listen to my podcasts, or whatever. Sometimes just to re-listen to them, you know. Um, it's fun. But yeah, I'd rather listen to music, through a digital, thing like MP3s and stuff, than listen to it than collect CDs anymore, because CDs just take up too much space and stuff, and I'd rather have it for movies.
Yeah, my car still has a CD player in it, and it within the last couple of months it broke. I was listening
Oh,
to a CD, and all of a sudden it just turned off. And I'm like, oh, is something wrong with the disc? No, the CD player just broke.
and
But
you couldn't even get that disc out, or could you?
say that again.
You couldn't get the disc out, or could you?
No, it came out. But it just stopped. Like I think there's something maybe wrong with the laser inside. But but I do have, because my car is older. It's a 2010, so it has the thumb drive, so I can still listen to that, and then it's got the little input, so I can have the cord go into my phone, and I can listen to music that way.
Hmm.
So not having the actual CDs doesn't really matter anymore. And most likely, a lot of those CDs I already have downloaded. So it's, there's just so many ways now of getting that stuff. So yeah, CDs just don't interest me in keeping, but movies do.
Movies do for me too. Like I absolutely love and there's some people that are like Blu-ray snobs, and that's what they call themselves. So I'm not like, being rude, or anything, because they call themselves that. There's like a selection of people just like Blu-ray, who just like 4K now, whatever the new thing is, like, they don't want, they don't want anything less than what, whatever. And you haven't even upgraded to 4K, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, because I mean I already own everything on either DVD or Blu-ray, and I know there's going to be something out there that's past 4K.
Oh
So
yeah.
then you'll just have to start collecting it all over again.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, at some point DVDs will stop being made. At some point. It's going to be a while, but it's still going to happen eventually. Just like VHSs really don't get made unless it's a specialty thing that people do specifically or whatever. But and then it'll be Blu-rays, and then eventually Blu-rays will stop and only be whatever, you know what I mean? And so people eventually have to get caught up, you know.
I mean, we'll see. They said that DVD was going to die a long time ago, and then it became DVD and Blu-ray, and then it became DVD, Blu-ray, and digital.
Hmm.
I did what got me into Blu-ray was Saw.
The movie
Is the
Saw.
very yeah, the last Saw movie, the final chapter. You could only get the uncut version on Blu-ray. The DVD was the theatrical version. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Now I gotta buy a Blu-ray player so I can watch Saw. And that's what got me into Blu-ray was that because there's so many Blu-rays now that are just for Blu-ray. Like if you won't get special features or uncut stuff if it's on DVD.
I think the only Saw I'm actually missing from my collection is Jigsaw, you know? I think I even have Spiral on 4K, if I'm correct. So I have all the other Saws, I think. So I have a whole pack of Saws, and I think I have a whole pack of Saws. And I think one of them had all like the whole pack has up to the final chapter. I could be wrong. I'd have to double check because we're gonna be doing a show for horror film lovers on Saw at some point. So it'd be nice to make
Yeah,
sure I have all of it. You
yeah,
know.
I got that. I got the Blu-ray collection that ended with final chapter, and then Jigsaw and Spiral were after that. So but it's a good collection to have. I originally had them all on DVD, and they had like the see-through boxes, and they did some pretty cool like slip covers on them where the slip cover would be bloody, and then if you pull it up, it's like normal.
Mhm.
So it kind of gave you. So they did good jobs on those. But yeah, everything eventually, especially if it's in a collection. Like I ordered, I got the Fast and the Furious, so it's 9 movie collection, and it's like, okay, well, why not? I like the movies. It's not the greatest franchise, but I enjoy them. But it's since Vin Diesel said that Fast X is a trilogy, that can go be on its own thing. you
No.
know by the time the third movie comes out, if they do it, it will have its own collection of 1, 2, and 3, or you just get X and then 11 and 12 or whatever it is, and you just put them right next to it.
Well, it's like I've got the Halloween box set, right? And it's got 1 through I guess 11 or whatever it is. Like whatever up to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, you know?
Yeah,
So
the one
it's
from Scream Factory.
yeah, the one from Scream
Yeah,
Factory. And I like that one. The only problem is we've talked about this, and I think you found out information from Cliff before, but I wish it also had the producer's cut both the theatrical and the producer's cut of part six. But I have the producer's cut on its own disc. It's just I wish it was all in that one, just because it's just easier.
Yeah, that was a deal that they made with the producers, so that yeah, that Scream Factory could release the producer's cut of part six, but it had to be by itself. It
Right.
couldn't be part of the package. And I know that annoyed, fans and people at Scream Factory.
Yeah.
But so it's yeah, most of those I own on DVD. And then I think the only one I owned on Blu-ray for a long time was part six. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't have part six as the only one on Blu-ray. No way. And then I found on sale Halloween. It was like a 40th anniversary or something, or 35th anniversary. And so I said, okay, good. At least I can pick that up. And then I grabbed the producer's cut, and then I got the Rob Zombie ones and stuff like that too. So now it kind of evens itself out. But uh, um, they're just nice sitting next to one another.
Yeah.
The whole idea of just a physical is you can, you know, because and I'm going to use another example here. I swear I didn't set these up to show, but I think they're good examples. Like you and I like the film Collections. You can't get this on
Um,
streaming.
but you can't also get it on Blu-ray. There's not as many of them on Blu-ray right now, which is kind of
Yeah, a lot of
disappointing.
these.
No, a lot of
Yeah,
those are like those 8 packs are on just DVDs. I see 3 packs, but I barely ever see 8 packs of movies on Blu-ray.
yeah, that's true. But I mean, I still like all this. I mean, yeah, man, they got a Mike Flanagan movie on here.
Which one?
The Ab Absenta Absenta.
That was Mike Flanagan? Oh,
Yeah, yeah, it's like one of
interesting.
his first movies. So it's and it has that Butcher Boys,
Oh,
which is like
nice.
part two or three of Toolbox Murders.
It would be
So
part three, I think. I guess.
something like that. But it's you just can't find this stuff
Hmm.
on streaming. That's why this is so great to have. I mean, it'd be nice to not have them like that. I mean, it'd be nice to have them individually, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers. But I mean, shit, they don't even list what movies are on each disc. I,
Right.
I guess maybe if you go off the back, but yeah, I wouldn't want to. I know some people who don't like collections like this, and I'm like, you're insane. I
I
mean,
mean,
that
the only problem I have with collections that are like 8 and they only have like 2 discs is that the compression rate is going to be a lot less than, and it's going to be pretty shitty, as opposed to if it had each one on their own disc, it would look a lot better, But then again, those eight
yeah,
packs are made so that they'd have 2 discs and have 8 movies on them, or whatever, 4 movies each on them.
yeah, and this is phase four of films. So I mean, you know what you're going into when you buy something like this. I mean, it's, but sometimes they do pretty good jobs. I think like Mill Creek and some of the other ones actually do pretty good jobs when they
Yeah,
release, like packs and collections and stuff like that. It's just not the same if you can't. I mean, I want to pick up like the Sharknado collection, and it has all of them in it. I think it's also available on Blu-ray, but it's like I don't want to watch them on streaming. I want to own Sharknado.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like a collection to actually own.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just keep buying until I guess you can't anymore.
It's so funny, like, how many of these franchises will get you because like, Sharknado would be like every summer, new Sharknado movie was going to be out. You knew it was going to come out until they stopped it until it's done. And then every April 20th, there's going to be another Evil Bong movie, whether or not you wanted to see it or whatever, it
Right.
was going to be there. Some people did want to see it because they want to support, Full Moon.
Hey,
Um,
I worked on one, Evil Bong 777. So
the dumbest title, but like it's so funny. Like I love that because
well, it's because 777 is lucky and it was shot out in Vegas.
oh, there you go. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I didn't even know that. But
It's
I
like the
just
slot machine 777. Yeah.
oh, okay. Okay, that
So then
tells.
there was like 666. We obviously know what that is. And then 777. And then the other one was 8, but it was infinity.
Oh,
So it was a loop. So my
but I
my
mean,
thing is when I was thinking about this today, because I was thinking like, what are we going to talk about mostly, is you get these asshole streaming companies like Netflix and Hulu, and they don't release the movies.
hmm
So you have to watch them if it's like Barbarian or the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Hellraiser. They're just like, oh, we're just not going to release physical copies of these things. That way it forces them, because it's not about money. It's all about views.
which is
So
weird because like how did other than getting subscribers, right? And people to subscribe to Netflix, um, how are they making any money off of these views without advertising, you know?
they're now turning to our they I just watched a video that was interesting where they talked about how all these streaming channels now have to go back to cable television. So now you're going to get something, that's maybe 30 minutes, and it's going to be like Tubi. You're going to get like 6 commercials. So it's going to just be like regular television again, because nobody's making money. It's already predicted that like Disney Plus is gone within like the next couple of years if they don't change what they're doing. And because Netflix is still, I believe, like the top one, but they had a huge drop off because of some of the stuff that they were putting out. And then of course, they got rid of all the people sharing the passcodes, and all that
Right.
stuff. But
Well,
it's for some of the stuff like Barbarian and all that, there's always a fuck you.
mhm.
You could of course, go the high seas and download a copy of it, as a torrent. And then it looks like some people did. And now you can go on like eBay and buy physical copies of the new Hellraiser and Barbarian and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is what I'm going to do, because I have a collection,
Mhm.
and I don't want to be without. So it's like, okay, I'll spend $20 and buy that, because there's no other way of getting it.
It kind of sucks. When you were saying like with Disney Plus, at least, most of their movies that come out in theater, right? You know, Meaning like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 just came out on Blu Ray today, or whatever. And because today's Tuesday and August 1st. And so was it and then it's gonna be streaming tomorrow, Wednesday, you know. They gave a day, I guess, to just, I mean, to let them to let it collect some money, through that. But
Right.
I mean, I'm not gonna necessarily. I don't want to run out and buy. Like I looked at Best Buy. Best Buy had Guardians of the Galaxy for like $33, on
That's too
4K.
much.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, 4K. Okay.
4K. Yeah, for Blu-ray it's 30. It was like 27, something like that.
That's too friggin' much, man.
Yeah.
I got like Creed 3 is coming to me tomorrow, and I think I spent $10 on eBay, and I made sure that it had its slipcover.
hmm
And I've mentioned this before on other videos, where I won't buy a movie. I'll pay a little bit more to see somebody having a picture of the Blu-ray or DVD on their bed,
Right.
and they show you the disc and everything in it, where some people will just Google a poster and put it up and be like, oh, used copy, very good. And it's like, I've been fooled before, you know, but it's, yeah, I'm not, I kind of have in my shopping cart, like Scream 6. And I just didn't want to spend like almost $30 on it. I'll just wait and buy it used,
Well, or you can
off
just
of.
wait till what's that? The Black Friday. Black Friday deals, all those
Oh
movies
yeah,
are gonna be like $10, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean there are that's the thing. I'm like I can wait. It's just a
But
few more months.
I think it depends on if you want that slipcover, and I want that slipcover.
That's true. Not all of them have the slip cover and stuff. And
I
we've
am
talked about this. I'm not
very
as big
mad
of
that Scream 4 doesn't have a slipcover. It pisses me off.
and all the rest of them do, right?
Yeah, it came out with a slipcover, but I waited to buy it for some reason, and by the time I purchased it, the slipcover was no longer available.
Yeah.
So, but you can buy that type of stuff on eBay's that it's just slipcover only. And so that's like, oh, okay. I think I need to do that with Creed 2. I just need, sometimes the slipcover is more expensive than just buying the whole movie with the slipcover,
Mm-hmm.
and then just go sell, one of them. Uh, but I want those slipcovers, and that goes back to the whole physical media thing. Is I I want that stuff. I want the slipcover. I want the booklets that are inside.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, if
and
it comes with a booklet or a poster or whatever, I want to make sure like I buy one of those brand new, like kind of sealed where it does have like the slipcover or does have the booklet or poster. We've talked about MVD has the posters. You like to have the posters inside. I like to actually put them up, or whatever, because
I
you
can't
know.
put them up because I just don't want to. If it's a collector's item, I don't want to have. I don't want them damaged. I mean, you could put them in a frame, but you could do that, I guess. Like as an example, I mean, there's steel books,
Hmm.
which I think are only DVD. No, no, they're Blu-ray because I have all my Tom Cruise stuff, all my Mission Impossible stuff is both like regular DVD, regular Blu-ray, and a steel book. But with Fallout, they there's like a thick booklet inside, and I don't think I even knew that the booklet came with it. I bought it used off of eBay,
Oh,
and the book and it came like in its entirety. So I was like, oh shit, okay, that's cool. But
yeah.
once again, you don't get that type of stuff with streaming.
Well,
So
and then that's the great thing I like about these, and we talk about this all the time, especially for our haul videos that we do. If you guys don't know, John and I do a bi-monthly haul video that every 2 months we'll have like, a collection of movies and Blu-rays and whatnot. And we talk about what we got. And a lot of what I'm buying are the boutique labels or whatever, Screen Factory, Arrow, Criterion, Kino, all that stuff. And John's been doing a lot of that too, I guess. You've been buying a lot. Like you just bought a whole bunch from Kino from their sale.
yeah, yeah, that was and they were pretty cheap too, and it's stuff that I'm happy about having because one of the films from Kino and it has the slipcover is Tentacles, that killer
Nice.
octopus movie from like the 70s. Like, why is this company releasing Tentacles? I don't care. I'll buy it.
Well, I think, honestly, I've noticed about Kino is like they'll do like the creme de la creme, but they'll also do like the worst of the worst,
The crap de la crap.
crap de la crap. But there's stuff I still like. But you joked on me, I think probably on the show, but also in real life, about buying Life with Mikey. I like that movie. I don't know, it's just something about
And
it. It's not your cup of tea, but
no, because I hate the precocious kid movies
right.
that started, I think, or were like John Hughes type stuff.
And I grew up
And
on that,
see,
you know.
I can't stand I don't mind the teenagers that talk like adults, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, and all that. A friend of mine goes, "Oh, I hate that," and I go, "No, why? Because maybe it'll make teenagers talk better. If they
Maybe.
see people
But
in the
maybe it'll
Breakfast
make
Club
kids
talking
talk better,
intelligent."
if the kids are sort of like, because like, you ever,
So
are you a fan of Uncle Buck?
yes, and those kids were fine.
Macaulay Culkin in that? He was sort of a precocious, you know.
He no, he not really. Precocious would be more of I'm 10 years old and I know the entire world and you're wrong.
Well, was it
Everything you
Home
do is
Alone?
wrong.
Home Alone, he was sort of like a little brat. Like, I don't know. I
Oh
don't,
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was a total dick, but by the end of the movie, he was actually okay. There
yeah.
are some films that do it well. I'll bring up a Tom Cruise film. Jerry Maguire has the little kid in it,
I
and
thought you
he's
said something about you did not like the little kid in it or something.
in Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
No, he's very cute. He's actually a cute kid.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's okay. I like him.
Jonathan Lipnicki.
It's funny is that I've seen memes now where it shows Christopher McQuarrie, who's got the beard, the glasses, and the hair stuck up,
Hmm.
and then it shows a picture of the kid from Jerry Maguire.
So it's like him
And
as an adult.
yeah, and it says only the kid from Jerry Maguire has aged. Tom Cruise hasn't, because it shows two pictures. And
Nice.
so it's very funny, but it's yeah, I just don't like those type of movies. So I would never. God, I hated those type of movies. Curly Sue, which was John Hughes. Oh my God, that was awful.
Speaking of Tom Cruise, I have a theory about why he doesn't age. Remember did Interview with a Vampire? I literally think he went all method, found a vampire, got bit. Mm.
I mean,
Why
it's
he can walk in the
possible.
day, I have no idea. He's a Scientologist. Maybe they figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. So maybe him and Nick Cage should make a movie together about vampires.
Well, Nick Cage has aged, so he obviously did go method, when he was doing Vampire's Kiss because he wasn't a vampire in Vampire's Kiss. So maybe that's why he didn't do it. He just thought he was, or what. Oops, spoiler alert for Vampire's Kiss if you haven't seen it.
The film's 30 years
I
old.
know. It's like giving a
It's
spoiler
a good
alert
movie
to
though. It's
Empire Strikes Back. Spoiler alert. All
Yeah,
right.
guess what, people? Obi-Wan Kenobi is Luke Skywalker's uncle. Spoiler alert on
Spoiler.
that one. Yeah.
There you go.
So, but there. Okay, so speaking of Star Wars, there's another fucking company. You're not going to get Obi-Wan or any of those movies on. You got to watch them streaming. They're not going to release any of that stuff. So you have to like I
What?
went
Wait,
on.
they stopped releasing them?
I haven't seen any of them. Well, Mandalorian.
Oh, you're talking about the TV shows
Yeah,
of
the
them
TV
on
shows. Yeah,
streaming. Okay. I think you're
yeah.
talking about like all the Star Wars stuff or whatever,
No, 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 no,
but
no.
that's true. I haven't seen Obi-Wan Kenobi you know, on there.
Book of
Speak
Boba Fett. None of that stuff has come out. You got to go to the high seas and
so
download it or buy a boot.
there was a company, I forgot what their name was, but there was a company that put out WandaVision. Have you heard about that?
I know.
Put
No,
out
I know of the show, but
WandaVision on in a Blu Ray case, and it was the digital code to it that when you opened it up, that's what it was. But it looked
uh,
like it was the movie. But they advertised it as Blu Ray of or 4K of WandaVision.
that sucks.
And
That's
that's
the seat.
and
Yeah, that's
and Disney
dishonest.
when Disney found out, they were like, well, we weren't like this was an R thing. This was like like we didn't have anything to do with this, which they didn't. I don't think. I think this company did it on their own. For some reason, they did that and it was got a lot of trouble, and shit. And
I would think so. I mean, Disney isn't the company that it used to be. I mean, I recently bought, probably within the last few months, Escape from Tomorrow,
okay,
and
is that the movie with the people going into Disneyland?
yeah, it's the dad going insane, and his and they it was at Disneyland and Disney World that they filmed it without Disney knowing at all, and they went and they got like hotel rooms where they would do rehearsals and go through all the shots, uh, uh and then they would go into the park and shoot like on their cameras, like on their phones and stuff. And the movie came out, and Disney didn't sue them. Disney said, look, as long as you don't make any money off of this, don't worry about it. So I don't think he can make any money because he's only made that movie, the director who's the dad. but I think it's pretty cool. But it kind of goes to show that how times have changed. That you have this huge company that's just like, yeah, just don't make it. It's almost like a fan film. Don't make any money
They're
off of
very
it.
okay with fan films. They like Star Wars, has been always one of those things where they even have like if you go to like starwars.com or whatever, they'll have a whole section for fan films and stuff, like they don't sue people over that. They don't cease and desist, you can go out and make because to them it's like building the universe and the community and bringing people into it. Whereas like Marvel and DC will strike you down on YouTube if there's a thing, which is weird because Marvel's also owned by Disney. But I think since it's a separate company, they've enforced things a little bit differently. You know, they're
Right.
um,
Well,
um
and that's another one. The Marvel stuff hasn't come out in physical copies. The TV stuff,
yeah, TV stuff, which kind of sucks. I mean, I would love for I think that
especially if you want a collection. Yeah.
yeah, if you want to have all the Marvel stuff, it's MCU, you and your collection, your physical copy, going and getting Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but you would also maybe want to get Secret Invasion when that would come out on Blu-ray. And I don't understand why companies aren't doing this. And I understand like digital is seeming like it's going to, you know, it's the way they want it that the Hollywood wants to go right now, streaming and everything. And so by sort of forcing people to watch streaming instead of buying copies, right? Makes people have to spend money on the thing instead of.
Well, and the stuff isn't making money. Like the Secret Invasion is the worst
I've heard.
out
I
of
only watched the first episode. I
all of the
liked the first
Marvel
episode,
stuff.
but
Yeah,
I haven't
it's
watched all
it's
the
it's
rest.
even lower rated than like She-Hulk and stuff, and some of these other ones, and so maybe they don't want to release it because it's like, well, crap, that's money. Who's going to buy this? Like a small little niche will pick it up for their collections because they're completists, but
Yeah, I wouldn't
who's going to
even.
buy it?
I don't know. Even for my collection, I wouldn't buy She-Hulk. Um, Secret Invasion, maybe because it did look pretty cool. The only thing I didn't like, and other people seemed to enjoy though, was like the beginning of the show, like the opening sequence was done by AI.
I thought that looked okay.
I thought it looked I thought it looked like crap, but maybe I was
I
looking
kind
at
of
it through a bad,
I don't know.
connection.
I dug what they were kind of doing with it. I think it was more AI that they hated. Like it did look ugly, but I kind of liked it at the same time. But
No.
it's maybe AI plays more into people disliking it. But if it was
Mm.
done by Joe Smith, they'd be like, oh, okay, it's not great, but good luck for Joe Smith. But
Well, if you
that's
notice the AI, actually, they have people listed as editors for the AI thing, you know? So people are still working on it with being AI. Somebody has to
well, yeah,
program things and they
AI
have to.
is only a small. Yeah, they like Duran Duran for their last album did the very first AI video. Well, you still have to have Duran Duran sing the song. You still have to have them have everything scanned. You still have to, there's still all this type of stuff. The AI is just one component of it. So but I think that because these things are bombing so bad that they're not releasing them. Something like Indiana Jones will come out physical, Dial of Destiny, because it's Indiana Jones.
Well,
And,
also
and
because it was in the theaters. I think anything that goes in the theaters will get a, you know, but if Indiana Jones just went straight to streaming, instead of going to the theaters, probably wouldn't have gotten a release on DVD and or Blu-ray because I say that because there's been a few movies that like Marvel and whatever will put, people will put out, Disney will put out. Those movies don't get, you know, um digital or don't get a physical copy, if
well,
it
and
goes
that's why
straight.
they now got to get these things out as quickly as possible. Mission Impossible 7 is a dud. It
Mm.
bombed. It barely made over the budget that we know of that's like listed on Wikipedia. It is a financial bomb. It is one of the most expensive movies ever made, and it bombed so bad that they better get this thing on Paramount Plus. They better get that Blu-ray out there. You know, they got to do something, because out of all the movies that have come out, it's people don't understand why audiences aren't connecting to it. I mean, it's but Barbie is probably going to hit 1 billion.
Hmm.
Oppenheimer won't, but they'll do, both of those will do well on streaming. And as I'm sure every woman, young woman, little girl, teenager will buy Barbie when it comes out, on Blu-ray. It's like freaking Titanic.
Hmm.
They'll go out and buy it. But it's yeah, I mean, it's just these movies are just, for Sound of Freedom destroyed a lot of that too with Mission Impossible. But and then Oppenheimer being on
Really?
IMAX. They say that Sound of Freedom took away a lot from all the movies. Now it's going overseas. It's now going to be shown worldwide.
I only just say I don't think so because I think it didn't even make like I mean it made more than its budget, but like that's because it was a small budget, right? Like it wasn't.
Well, but that's the point. Is they made it for, I think it was, I've heard 14 million, but I've also heard 16 million.
Hmm.
So if you're, I mean, so even if you make 30 million, the film is a hit. 50 million. I mean, it's I mean, I'll just do my little thing here. But so let's see, like Sound of, there it is. Um I still want to see the movie. I really don't know why people are having such a problem with it, and I think it's from probably people not even seeing the movie.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Jim, what's his name? Jim Caviezel or James Caviezel, what his name
Yeah,
is.
Jim Caviezel or
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, he is QAnon. I mean, he's gone on all the talk shows and
I don't
stuff.
even I don't care about the political aspects of who these people what these people do or whatever. I'm not gonna watch the movie. I have no interest in it. But that's a personal just I'm not interested in saying people bringing down traffickers. Just not my cup of tea. But and I don't care about the political things behind it. I just want to see like because I'm just surprised that a movie like that would interfere because I don't think the people that watch Sound of Freedom are the same people that are gonna go, yeah, I'm gonna go watch Mission Impossible, you know? So I feel like
I think that no, I think they wouldn't go see Barbie. So it
you
says here that the film is made, yeah, for 14.5 million, and it's already made 53.4.
well, it's just the same as like, Terrifier 2, which is on, physical media too. That was like just an Indiegogo, like 200 grand movie, that made I believe 14 million in the box office, if I'm correct,
But
something
that's
like that.
that's what they need to do. They need to follow Blumhouse. They need to follow all of these things. And unfortunately, a lot of these movies, like Indiana Jones, I think they said was like the 14th most expensive movie ever made.
Well, so
And then they need to, COVID had a lot to do with it, because Mission Impossible was done in 2000. It just took
well,
them 3 years to get it out.
they need to do that. What they need to do is they need to concentrate on finding smaller movies that can make them huge budgets or, make back huge budget, right? So like you said, Blumhouse. Blumhouse usually makes a movie for $1 million and then, maybe they'll spend another million on marketing or whatever. So say $2 million total, right? They get the movie out there and it makes freaking uh $2 billion, like it makes a huge amount of money, not billion, billion, but it makes like $100 million in the
Well, like
box
yeah, like
office,
like
like Get
Insidious
Out,
5,
like Get
you
Out,
know.
and yeah, so they do that. Those get to be big things, and then they can use that money that they've made from that to make another, to make a, but if they did like say they did 20 of those, you know, per 10 of those per year, you know, that's right there. That's $1 billion or so, right? That they can have as like safety net for when they do a a $250 million movie and it bombs, you know.
Well,
So
because those Blumhouse is doing the old school stuff. Like Roger Corman would make one big movie. So he would make Battle Beyond the Stars. That would be like the most expensive movie he made up to that point. And then from there, and of course, because it came out around Star Wars, it made a lot of money. But he would then use all the footage of the spaceships in other movies. He'd use all the sets in other movies.
hmm
He would use the robots in other movies, the guns in other movies. So it's like you around that time period, you can find like Forbidden World is one of my favorite, Alien ripoffs. All that space footage is from Battle Beyond the Stars, but we don't care because we know it's Roger Corman. So it's if people looked at things that the way that they used to do, and I think Blumhouse kind of does that because Roger
mm.
Corman, he wrote the book called "I Made 100 Movies and Never Lost a Dime," and that's true.
I need to buy that book at some point
It's
just to own
it,
it in
it
my collection.
yeah, it's a good book, and he was right about that. If um he went to, I want to say, like Rio or something like that. I'd have to look. I have it on my thing. But he brought like John Sayles with him before he was John Sayles, and they made 3 movies.
hmm
So they did, Beast from like the Haunted Cave and Last Woman on Earth, and they would just make 3 movies for the
Well,
price of like one.
I heard like Criterion released Targets, which I can't wait to pick up in like October or
That's a
so.
great one. I know one
And
of the guys in it.
oh, cool. Well, Targets was, Roger Corman, and it was Peter Bogdanovich's first movie. And for people who don't know, it starred Boris Karloff. I think it was Boris Karloff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was from some of it was from his footage from another movie. And
It's from
then,
The Terror. That was the
yeah,
thing. Corman said you have to somehow incorporate footage from The Terror in
right.
this.
And then Boris liked Peter so much that he agreed to like shoot like an additional like 20 minutes or something of like new footage, So you get little more of Boris Karloff, but then you get some of the Terror. And if you haven't seen this, I actually have not seen the Terror yet, so I'm actually
Oh,
hoping to
I love
watch
The Terror.
Targets.
Everybody hates it,
I
but
know, freaking
you
Paul
you
hates
should
that
watch.
movie.
Yeah, you should watch The Raven and then watch The Terror because that's what they shot right after The Raven.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, at some point, but I mean, I love this. Like I love that kind of stuff. I love reusing footage and getting away with it and making it in your films. And I think if Disney or Marvel and all of them did stuff like that, it could still work, if they made it cheaper, you know.
Well, yeah, that's why you have something like Saw for the most part takes place in one room. Paranormal Activity takes place in one house. You just do that type of stuff, and you'll make money off of that as long as
Mm.
it's got a good script. And then to go back to the physical copy stuff, and then you get a great box set of
hmm
like Paranormal Activity on Blu-ray, where you get like
Exactly. I've got
two
that.
different versions. Yeah, it's it's
I
it's
don't
a
have the
great
big
box
one. I
set.
don't have the one you have, but I have one that has like a bunch of them on it. It's like a cheaper, like it feels like a Mill Creek version or whatever, of it.
Oh yeah, more yeah. This is like the big box set. So I
Yeah,
have
I
it with
saw
that
the
a lot
saw
of.
that. It's a really kind of nice looking box set
Yeah,
that you have. One thing I wanted to mention, we talked a little bit about doing the Blumhouse thing of making, and the biggest problem is like, movies these days. So there's this, to go back to Marvel, there's this talk about who's gonna play the Fantastic Four, right? And Reed Richards and Sue Storm are the two biggest characters, right, in it. So you need the two biggest actors most likely. and they went to both Adam Driver and like Emma Stone and a bunch of other people for Sue Storm, and all of them wanted like 20 million a movie, you know, which just wouldn't work for as many movies as there like 8 movies, each one getting 20, like Disney just could not, can't couldn't afford to do that for the movies because there's a big cast. There's going to be a big, like they can't get this. So most likely they're going to have to go with somebody with, um smaller names, and that's the thing is like that's how it is in Hollywood right now is like people want more money. Adam, for some reason, Adam Driver wants 20 million, and I'm like,
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're, I mean, and he knows he got stuck in a series for like 10 years.
that was another thing that was talked about was that he probably did not want to be stuck in another, for 8 movies, or so. That's usually, at least, if not more. Look at Benedict Cumberbatch, who unfortunately is like Doctor Strange, but he's going to be Doctor Strange for a while. Mark Ruffalo will be, the Hulk for a while, left.
I mean,
So
in some ways, they should stick with that because all the movies they make outside of that bomb.
that's true. Well,
Like, look at everything that Robert Downey Jr. has done. Like
yeah, since then, like
Doolittle and
Doolittle,
The Judge, and they've all bombed. Nobody wants to see him outside of outside of Iron Man.
Iron Man, that's true.
So
What has Chris Evans done besides this? Like, I haven't seen his
he
name anywhere.
he did well. He did Lightyear, which bombed beyond belief. The woke Lightyear, and then he also did. There's 2 films on Netflix that people are absolutely sure. There's no proof, but they're like 100% sure that they were written by AI. And one of them is that one with Wonder Woman in it, and I think it has. And then it's got like 2 guys in it, and it's like a spy movie.
It's not the Ryan Reynolds one, right?
It is the Ryan Reynolds one, yeah.
Okay.
And then the other one, Chris Evans did with like a really hot actress, and it's the same type of thing. And they failed miserably on Netflix, and everybody's like, "This had to be written by AI. It's so
Red
bad."
Notice. Red Notice is the,
Yeah, Red Notice is
and that
yeah,
was a Netflix like original or
yes,
something. I remember
but
that
people,
because I was like, oh, when is that? And see, I had like The Rock in it. Yeah, The Rock was
yeah,
in it. Um, but I bet that doesn't have a fucking its physical copy. I bet I can get that on
no, because it's
Blu-ray, and
Netflix.
it's Netflix. And it okay, here's the thing. I understand, and we talked about this. The fact that streaming needs not to do or doesn't want to do physical media because that takes away from the streaming. People are going to go, well, I'm not going to stream it. I'll just buy it, right? But they're just not tapping into a market that can help them continue. So pretty soon, Netflix better start putting everything on physical media as well because it can help them recoup money when people are just like, I'm sick of Netflix. I don't want to watch this anymore.
Well,
But they
and
still want to watch the movie.
well, that's the thing. It is yeah, and I canceled my subscription to Netflix, but it like the new Children of the Corn movie. I've seen people on Facebook holding it up saying about the new Children of the Corn movie. I bought it, but I don't think anybody, if it wasn't physical, I think it would have had its people watch it that are interested like me, and then that's it. It would be done. So if they were to release Barbarian or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and if Hulu, which is Disney, would do, you know, Hellraiser, they would probably sell stuff. They would sell those movies because you got people like you and I that are collectors.
Hmm.
That it doesn't matter how bad it is, we'll put it in our collection because it has to be complete. But I'm not talking to a friend of mine, and none of my friends have gone, dude, you know what we should do? We should go stream Texas Chainsaw Massacre. No,
Right.
nobody cares.
That's why, yeah. I mean, we should let's have a streaming night, right? It's more like, hey man, I bought this cool movie, do you want to come over and watch it? You know, that's what me and my friend do. We only stream if it's a TV show and we don't know what we want to watch, you know, and stuff. And we're just like, let's just see what's on streaming, you know? And other than that, I'm like, hey, I bought a whole bunch of movies. Pick, which one you want to watch or whatever, right? And then we'll watch something. We did that for The
Yeah.
Graduate. I was planning to
Huh?
watch The Graduate by myself. My friend said he had never seen it. And I said, oh, let's watch that then, because we're gonna watch another movie instead. But we ended up watching The Graduate, and he absolutely loved it. Thought it was one of the best. Got him to want to watch In the Heat of the Night,
Another
and
good
stuff
one.
like that. And I mean, fucking amazing movies that are on physical copies because they're older, and these newer movies aren't getting the chance to become, that Red Notice. I bet if somebody put that Red Notice movie out on Blu-ray, it would have helped Netflix. Like there is no reason for Netflix to just screw off, physical copies. Um,
Well, I mean, all these companies have to keep doing is editing movies. I got my somewhere right over in here. I got I think it's up there somewhere, but my French Connection 1 and 2 box set.
oh yeah.
And
Oh, I
now
was like
that
wondering what you're talking about with editing.
yeah, it is, now these companies are, because that's Fox, so I think that was Disney who edited
Yeah.
out the N word. So
Oh,
it's
well,
like,
I think they edited a whole scene out, not just the word, you
oh,
know.
really? So
Yeah.
I believe that's only for streaming,
Hmm.
but I've now
And it's
heard of,
for
and also,
Criterion Channel, by the way.
and Criterion, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, but yeah, I think it's so far 2 studios have done that,
I
which
know.
to me is just as bad as Zaslav and all these guys removing movies because they can make more money from a tax write-off. And I saw some of the stuff that they were removing, and it's like, really, man, really? Okay, I guess. I mean, to me, it's just their way of fucking everybody over, because then they're not going to make any money off of the stream. They're not going to get that residual check.
Right. Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
that's something that's becoming a bad practice too, is like Disney's doing it as well. They like get rid of Willow, which was their original show,
well,
you
that's
know.
understandable. That was garbage.
I
that
regardless,
that was pure
regardless,
garbage.
some people had never got a chance to watch it. It's not fair that other people can't, well, you may be like, well, that was good. Good. I'm glad that other people can't watch it, but I'm just saying, like, some people may have wanted to. I didn't watch it, but only because I'm not a really big Willow fan. Like, I think it's okay, but it was never like I was never part of my childhood, like I watched it as a kid, but
I
I
mean,
was
just watch the movie. I mean, why do I want to watch a TV show where Willow's like a fifth type of character?
it's true.
Like he's barely in it. I mean, and it's more about a relationship of 2 young women. I mean, it's no, I would never watch it. And
Yeah.
I do believe I am being hypocritical, because I'm like, oh, good, they took it off because it's crap. But then, they took something off, like, the biopic from Hulu, the biopic from the Sex Pistols,
Right.
which I wish that they would have left on. And that was one that they removed, probably because the people who wanted to see it, like me, saw it, and they're like, okay, it's not making any money, nobody's viewing it, but it's probably never going to see the light of day.
So yeah, well, so I've been talking to some people about this stuff, and what I've understood is that like the big problem with streaming is that once your contract is up for some of these streaming sites like Tubi or whatever, and you have like a contract for a certain number of years, it's harder to get them onto another streaming site because it's already been watched. It's like used goods at that point. So people don't
it,
want to put it out because people, it's already been out, you know?
I think it depends on what it is, because when all the streaming sites started, you had like all the Marvel movies on different streaming sites, and then once that ran out, they went over to Disney Plus.
Right.
So they kind of get all that stuff into one area.
Which I
But
think is
yeah,
very smart, but you know, for that.
yeah. I mean that's probably what I would want to do is to have all that stuff in just one area, just one streaming
Yeah.
site. But yeah, I mean if you're watching something like I don't know, the original Mad Max. I mean, how many streaming sites can it kind of hop to and still be popular?
Actually, and I've noticed this because I'll go on IMDb and I'll look up, and I love IMDb for the fact that they actually have listed where you can watch, movies or whatever. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but if you looked up Aximus, your movie. By the way, everybody, he made a couple short films called Aximus 1 and 2 that are available
Yes,
for
thank you.
streaming.
Yes,
And
you
you
can
can
watch them
buy
on
them
Tubi.
for physical copies from Scream Time uh releasings. Yeah,
Screen Time Films LLC.
Scream
Yeah.
Time Films LLC.
Todd
And
Cook. Yeah.
yeah, Todd Cook's company. And I absolutely, yeah, I just chatted with Todd the other day. So love the dude. But yeah, so uh Aximus 1, 1 and 2, if you looked it up, I bet it might be on it might be on Tubi, but he might also have it on like Plex or one of the other sites, or
It
whatever.
is. It's so I guess I can't complain in some ways. It's and I do make money off of that. Not a lot, but I do get a check. Uh but yeah, it's on Access 1 and 2 are on Tubi. I think one of them, I don't know why both aren't, but I think one of them is Plex, or both maybe are on Plex. It's something else. But they're on like Kings of Horror and YouTube and stuff like that. But I would still want a physical copy of it because the physical copies have audio commentary, they got behind the scenes, they got a still gallery, and you don't get that on Tubi.
Well, don't get on Tubi, but I will say that I'm very surprised at times that Disney Plus will actually have extras for some of their movies. So some of them will have deleted scenes or commentary. Like if you look at Captain Marvel has commentary, really enough. It's one of the only, Marvel movies to have the commentary track on the Disney Plus
God,
thing. But
why?
like, what?
Why?
That's what I'm saying. Like, out of all the movies, I like. Is anybody really cramming to hear how they made that movie? I don't know. I'm guessing there's some kind of interest or whatever. Um, but yeah, but if you go to like, there might not be commentary for like Captain America Civil War on there, but if you went to bought the 4K, you can get the commentary track. So you know, I that's what I mean, and the boutique labels like Criterion and Arrow and Kino, a lot of them do come with a lot of special features, including commentary or sometimes even another full movie. I showed you in the heat of the night having in the heat of the night on 4K from I think it's from Kino. And then it has both the other two movies on a separate Blu Ray disc. So it's got the sequel, the sequel and the third one. So, you get
Yeah, that's a good disc. Yeah, yeah.
right. So like it's
Or
well
package.
worth buying for like $30 or whatever because you're not just getting $30, you're not just getting one movie, but you're getting three movies on a disc. So well worth it in my opinion. And
Yeah. Well,
uh,
in one way that people can do audio, well, of course, there's always like YouTube, so you can do behind the scenes and put it up on YouTube if you have your, if which they do. I mean, Paramount and Warner Brothers will release behind the scenes, but you could also do audio commentary,
mhm,
and you just have it as like a podcast, and then you just hit the button and then turn the movie on.
mhm.
So it could be streaming or physical, and then just listen to the audio commentary through YouTube or whatever channel it is. So there are ways of doing it, but I prefer to have everything together.
Right. No, I get you because I prefer to have them together because sometimes they'll send you like I remember when I bought like South Park on DVD and for some reason like the commentary tracks had their own like CD basically or whatever. So I had to listen to like the commentaries through a different CD or whatever, which is yeah, you put the CD in and then you time it to go in with the movie and or the show or whatever. I don't get it, but you know,
I've done it a few times. I found a like the audio commentary for Halloween 4, and the writer for that talks about the movie. But yeah, you gotta. I've done it more as a just like I just hear it, just through the Bluetooth or whatever. But you could just start it and just turn on Halloween 4
or you go
if
on
you wanted to.
YouTube, which we're on right now, but you can go on YouTube and uh, you know, look up commentary tracks, and I guarantee you there's a few for different movies, or whatever, which
Those, I guess, I don't like the ones that are just like you and I would do
yeah,
type of thing. Like if we decided, oh, let's do an audio commentary for Psycho.
which we had nothing to
I,
do with, and we're
yeah,
not like film historians.
yeah, I have no interest in that type of thing.
But
But
if it was a film historian who did it, and it was on YouTube or something, I would listen to that,
yeah, or the writer or the director and like a moderator would be there to ask questions and stuff like that. Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah,
Because
but yeah,
they already do that type of stuff.
I get that because like, if it were like some podcasts do that where they like offer like a commentary track for like movies that they like, so it'd be like this podcast does, commentary for Jaws, and it's just like the two people in the podcast talking about their love of Jaws, and oh my God, in this scene, blah blah, right? And I'm like, eh, nah, don't don't care.
Mm,
You know, like
mm.
if you are involved in the process of the making of it, yes, I care. Or if you know a lot about Jaws, like you were, I could never, like I've never gotten to that point where I can be like, C. Courtney Joyner?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that dude is a freaking like he is so smart. I've interviewed him a few times, and the knowledge he has about especially older films, classic films, and stuff, and just everything that is incredible. Like if you ever get a chance to just chat with the dude about stuff, I mean, go for it. I don't know if he's been on your one filmmaker, one film, but he should be because he's so
no,
amazing, you know.
no.
He's
Well,
very smart about it.
I mean, there's also stuff like Trailers from Hell where they get well-known people to review the trailers and talk about history. John Landis is
I
like a
think
big thing
Joe
on that.
Dante created that or something.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
yeah, you get a lot of the old school guys talking about those trailers.
No.
So it's so that's interesting. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, if you want to hear audio commentary from me, just watch Aximus, because then at least I know something of what I'm talking about.
Well, you know about your movie. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, we recorded a commentary for Scary Story Slumber Party. And Paul was not in the making of that or anything. And I think I forgot who, so Joe Turk, I think. We're all chatting about it, but I was the only one who actually worked on the film. So it was more like asking, them asking questions to me about the making of the movie and,
Which
and
is
whatnot.
fine.
Which was,
Yeah.
yeah, to me that's a good commentary track because I will, be able to give insight into the film that I made that I was, a big part of or whatever. But I would never do commentary for Axbus. Like that would be ridiculous. Like I don't, other than what you've told me, which wasn't a lot, I'm not going to be able to go, in this scene, this person did this because they were blah blah blah, right? Like I wouldn't know all that stuff. And
No.
I don't try to pretend like I know everything. I'm not
Well,
know-it-all when it comes to these movies.
a lot of those people do it to attack the movie. I had two guys attacking um Aximus. They reviewed it for Christmas, and I threatened to sue the website that put it out because they edited the movie. And
Wait, so they actually like put your movie in the
I
like
guess a distribution deal was made, and I was not part of it, and it went to a channel on YouTube, and they edited the shit out of both Xmas films. And I was wondering, why are people talking so much shit, and why are these reviews really bad? And so I watched it, and they edited all the violence out, they edited all the swearing out, and so the films, instead of being like 30 minutes, they were like, 20. And I contacted these guys who like destroyed both films, and they even took both films and edited them together to make 1 hour. And I never gave permission for this. And according to them, they said, well, it was within the distribution deal that was made with your distributor, who would have been Screamtime Films. And I talked to Todd, and I threatened to sue the other one. And I did a complaint to YouTube, which was a strike against them. And they're just like, well, can you take the strike back? I'm like, get rid of my movie, remove it from your channel. Once I
did
see that
they?
it's, yeah, they
Good.
did, and then I took the strike back. So
Maybe that's a review. I remember you telling me about a review that you got on Letterboxd where I think it was Letterboxd, but it was somewhere where this woman was complaining about your film and everything. Maybe she watched that version, and that's what she was complaining about.
I mean, it's possible. Luckily, that version is gone. But the two guys who reviewed it, which are kind of like bro dudes, and just destroyed the movie. And I sent them a message saying, "Dude, you saw the cut version." And
Yeah,
and the guy's like, "Oh, we should have watched it on your YouTube channel." It's like, well, duh,
yeah.
yeah,
You should have watched the real movie. But they don't
yeah.
know. They don't know. They watch this crappy version that's on this crappy website and everything. That's the problem with YouTube is sometimes like and they're I think they're getting a little bit better because there are times where you're getting strikes for, copyright and, stuff or whatever. If you don't have the copyright, you shouldn't put it up, for it. But I mean, it's just, it just depends on you know, what you're putting out, I guess, you know.
Well, and that's why, when I do the to go back to the physical stuff, is this is all I'll do. I bought this. It's got 8 movies on it. The movies are, here's the inside, because they don't copyright that. But if I put up the trailer or something like that, or like a clip, they're gonna copyright it,
Mhm.
and get a strike. And that's how I lost my channel the first time. So
Right.
now I don't do it. And I mentioned that in the one filmmaker that I just did, that's why with one filmmaker I don't show trailers. I don't show posters. I don't do any of that for the filmmakers that I'm interviewing, because YouTube will strike it.
We had a
And
similar problem on Indie Film Cafe where Paul would Paul put up a one of his songs or whatever, and he used songs that he had the rights to, because it said it was it was allowed, right? Like the company let him put it, whatever. But apparently, I guess one of the things was one of the samples was from something. It got a copyright strike, and I told them, but it wasn't a copyright strike where they'll delete your channel or even give you like, it's not even a warning, or whatever. But so we've been able to put it out, but I go, dude, you need to probably change your, stuff because I don't want to keep getting in trouble for this, or
yeah,
whatever.
I've gotten some of those, and it's like, as long as you don't make money,
Right.
you're
That's
okay.
it. That's as long as you're not monetizing off your, once we
Yeah.
start monetizing, you have to get rid of that stuff. The other thing that I would tell him is he used to do this more. He doesn't do it as much anymore. And I think it's because I can't keep telling him to be careful. We don't want to get in trouble, but he would put audio clips of the movies that we did into the podcasts for Indie Film Cafe, right? And I'm like, we don't own the rights to any of that audio, like we only have to own the rights to our own, our own channel and our own audio, so I don't want to. And he's like, oh, it's only like 10 seconds or 15 seconds. It's going to be
It
fine.
doesn't matter because
No,
as you're uploading it, they're scanning
right. But
your film and or whatever video or whatever it
it's
is.
actually
And
audio, so I just still worried that Podbean will go, wait, you can't use this. This isn't, you know,
yeah,
whatever. Like,
when I need to get my butt on this, but my cosmic horror thing, the Rain of Violent Screams, is when I put it up on YouTube for people, for like the other filmmakers to watch. All of a sudden, I'm getting warnings, and it's like, fuck, come on, guys, you made this film and now you're using music that's copyrighted. So it's like, okay, do I just leave it as it is or have them change it?
probably have them
I
change
mean,
it at some point if it really starts to be a problem, as long as you're, I mean, if you might want to monetize off of it at some point, right? So you
no,
might
because
want to,
it's only there just for them to watch.
oh yeah, then
It's
it's
yeah,
not
it's unlisted, but it's if YouTube is catching these things that are copyrighted, then it's like, okay, so if it actually gets distribution, or is the distributor then going to find that these things are copyrighted and then
right.
say, well, either get permission or you're going to have to replace that piece of music. So it's but YouTube is pretty good about people who do put music up for free. So when I did my zombie short, that Flesh Attack, um all the music in that was from two different people, and it was all royalty free, and I didn't get a strike at all. So it was, and so I guess somehow YouTube knows
Yeah,
if
YouTube
somebody's
knows if it's because they have like in their library or whatever which ones are copywritten and which ones, which stuff's not. So if see, they do it even when you upload it, right? So I upload stuff. So I'll give you an example. So I didn't want to talk about this, but there's some movies I want to have that I'm afraid are going to get taken down from YouTube at some point. Like somebody's just going to delete them because they don't want them on their page anymore or whatever. But there's some movies, like full-length movies, I want to show on Indie Film Cafe. So I just kind of just take them from MP or M4A to in whatever, right? And I put
well,
them.
there's YouTube downloaders.
Right.
I
Yeah.
download stuff
Yeah.
off
It's
of
a
YouTube
YouTube
all the
converter.
time.
It's a YouTube
Yeah.
converter, and I take the conversion, so I have an MP4. I put it on, I upload it to YouTube. Problem is, some of those are actually already copywritten, like completely. Like you can't, they know, like YouTube will know. And the first thing they tell me is, sorry, you can't upload this. This is copywritten. But they don't give me a strike or anything. They just
Right.
don't let me post it, and stuff. And they do it automatically. So like YouTube knows now. And I think more people should be more careful, when uploading stuff or whatever, just to be on the safe side because like copyright is a big deal. And this is why we get into the business of filmmaking and films to begin with, is we want, if it's our project, we want to make sure that somebody doesn't go, Aximus, I'm just going to take Aximus off of a conversion, go and put it up on my channel, and, right? Going to put it up on my channel and fuck with it, edit it, and edit all the violence because YouTube doesn't like violence, and all cursing because YouTube doesn't like cursing. But then it's not a horror film anymore. And what's the point of the movie? And it's gonna make people pissed off. Like this looks like crap, you know?
Well, and it matters because I mean I don't make any money off of YouTube, so I have it on there and it's got all the violence and language. But then there's Kings of Horror, and both of them are on Kings of Horror, and I make a little bit of money off of Kings of Horror. and they're completely uncut.
Right. I'm
But this
guessing that
other
they
place
have to
chose to
have
cut
some
it.
kind of deal with YouTube that they're allowed to show their horror films, because they have nudity on that, they have violence, they have everything. They don't cut anything out. And so they have to have some kind of deal because they're a bigger company, They're which I don't know how they make, I guess they make their money on views and monetization, but because I see sometimes like some of those will get up to like 20,000 views, in like
Oh
one
yeah,
day.
yeah. The both Axis films on my channel, they may have like 100 views, but then on Kings of Horror, yeah, it's like 5,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Scare Story Slumber Party was on one of those ones, and I didn't give permission. And this is a deal that I'm kind of like, I've got to work with a entertainment lawyer on this kind of thing and figure this stuff out because I actually own the rights to Scary Story Slumber Party now. The distributor does not, but the distributor made deals with like Plex and this other YouTube company, and I just looked it up today that it's not on YouTube anymore, for free, or whatever through that one company. So I'm guessing they took it down because their contract was up, right? So I'm hoping Plex takes it down so I can upload it myself onto Tubi at some point, you know. Um, I don't I could do it now, but I'm just gonna wait a little bit before I do it. But I mean I own the rights to it, so they can't say anything because they'd have to talk to the guy you know, and we made a deal, you know, that I'd own the rights
Uh-huh.
back once our thing was up, you know, contract was up. But anyway, that's yeah. So physical media, we are both physical media lovers. We both collect. I mean, if you look behind John, can't look behind me, but I do
Oh
have.
yeah. I mean, here I'll give you. I mean, there's my other
Yeah,
one, and
Jesus.
then
And you
that
got
that's the
boxes and shit, don't you?
that's the
Like
new box today. Then there's all that,
Jesus. Yeah,
and
you
then
are
there's
all
all
throughout your
that.
house.
Yeah, and then they're all on the table here. All those are
Yep.
boxes. So I look like a hoarder, but I'm not. They're just boxes with movies in them.
Well, you are a
But
hoarder. You're a hoarder for movies.
well, okay, yeah, there we go. Okay,
Yeah, I
that's
mean, which is fine. I'm a hoarder for movies.
yeah.
Now my last question, because we'll probably end pretty soon, but my last question is, are you a very picky collector? Like, are you one of those people who only like what you like, but you won't buy other stuff or whatever? Like, or are you kind of like in between?
I'm more picky of what the packaging looks like when I get it.
Right.
So I have on I forget what website it is. I sent you the link to it. They got 50% off of the deep discount.
This deep discount. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I have in my cart all these movies. There's I think there's some rental stuff and there's a lot of Nick Cage stuff in there that was on sale. And one movie I've never heard of, but it sounded cool. It looks cool, kind of an end of the world type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cheap, so I put it into the cart. So I buy a lot of stuff that I have no idea what it is, and I hope that it's good. But I have at times I bought the movie Inhuman DVD
Okay.
from the 90s. I bought it 3 times because once it was one of those ones where the picture was from Google. It wasn't like sitting on the person's bed, and I'm getting it and it's a Blockbuster copy with all the stickers on it, or I get it and there's water damage on the back. And
Right.
it's like, no, I don't want this shit. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can return it and sometimes you can. And finally I got a third copy that looks good. And granted it's old and it's used, but still, don't show me a picture from Google and not put into the description that has water damage.
Exactly. Well, that's what you're supposed to do on eBay or whatnot, or deep, all these other. I didn't realize like I sent you a link to Declutter, which I'm gonna be doing some Declutter unboxings soon, and whatnot. That won't go into the haul. It's just gonna be a separate video of different movies I'm gonna get from Declutter, which is I think that's how you say the name. It's DECLUTTR, .com. And they have a thing where I showed you I don't know if you explored it or whatnot, but you can go in it and you go down and you look up like Blu-rays or DVDs or whatever, right? I usually go to Blu-rays and then I'll look up, obviously I'm the Blu Ray Hunter. So more along the lines of trying to build up my Blu-ray collection. But you go there and it'll be like two for $7, in there or whatever. And you can buy a whole bunch, but you can also sell on that company. So it actually asks you buying or selling, so you can sell your movie onto their thing. I guess there's probably a fee that they take, of it
Sure.
or whatever. But, if I have a whole bunch of movies that I just found, I think because, I've got so many everywhere. But have a bunch that are movies that I upgraded to 4K. So I have the Blu-rays and and since I already have the Blu-rays on the 4K, I'm gonna get rid of them. I'm taking them to Second and Charles, which is I don't think you have a Second and Charles out there, do you?
Never heard of it. No.
Yeah, so it's a company like that has movies, books, you know, CDs, everything. So, but most of them are used, but they're usually good copies and everything. And so I'm gonna bring in my used and probably get either, you know, money or I'll get store credit, you know, and whatnot. I hope for store credit because I wanna I want to buy some more movies. That's why I trade them in
Sure.
so I can get other stuff. I'm sure you do the same thing with some of your movies that you don't want anymore.
Yeah, Zia Records, and then when I was in LA, Amoeba Records. So that's recently Joe Lujan and I have we've been going through our collections and finding duplicates. And then when we meet up, we'll be like, "Oh, do you have this? No. Do you have this? No. Do you have this? Yes, I
Oh,
do."
you a trade?
Yeah, and then so that so it's less going to like Zia Records. I don't have as much, but I also pick up films from Joe that I don't have, and he gets films that I that he doesn't have.
Well,
So
I
it kind
think
of works
also
out.
I'm going to talk to Paul and bring some of the movies. Well, I'll probably go to Second Charles first, but then if they don't want specific movies or something or whatever for whatever reason, I will probably go to Paul and see if he wants to buy a couple for like a couple dollars, or something, $2 for some Blu-rays, So I'm sure he'd be excited if there were anything he actually wants, or needs. But yeah, so I'm really excited. I love collecting movies. I love talking about collecting movies. So this is a new segment of Blu-ray Hunter where I'm just going to be talking to people about, their physical media collection, and it's going to be interesting. I think there will be a lot of talk on streaming too, and how and I'm not anti-streaming, by any means of the imagination. I have way too many one that I already pay for, and everything. But I'd rather collect movies than stream them, if
Right.
I have my choice. So I hope that more people, because people are, what are your thoughts on people saying like physical media is dying?
I think they're kind of right. I mean, if you go into a place like Walmart, it's now games. It's not as big. If you go into Target, it's not as big.
Target
Uh,
especially. Walmart, I think, has a little bit more. They still have like,
they
and
they
they,
do, but it used to be like twice the size. I mean,
right.
and Best Buy was huge, when I worked there, and now you go in and it's just like two racks.
Yeah. And on top of that, they're way more expensive than like they used to be, Um, I told you that That the 4K for Guardians of the Galaxy was like $33 or whatever, and stuff like that. But the Steelbook was like 40, 38, something like that. And I'm like, people are spending $38 just to get a Steelbook version of Guardians, and I know a lot of people are. And I'm just like, that just seems really, really high. And that's Disney, because Disney
Sure.
Disney unfortunately knows that people pay it, you know. And until
Right.
people stop paying for it and it does poorly on that, they might start dropping prices down,
Or they
But
just get rid of it and go to streaming.
that's it, And they're just like, screw it. We're already streaming it. I mean, I don't know how they're making money off of that, but they are
I, I
somehow.
mean, like I said, all this stuff is, while they're releasing, a lot of this was from that dollar special. So people just aren't buying physical anymore. I mean, they had probably like a whole warehouse full of movies that nobody was buying. So it's like, well, we'll just sell them for a buck.
That's what
And
dollar 25 tree, you know. A lot of those were Walmart movies that, I would see in Walmart and I wouldn't buy it because it was like 15 $10 15 at Walmart. Then I get there and I see it for like $1.25. I'm like, it's a better deal. You know?
oh
Like
yeah,
it's gonna get to a point where people are like, well, I'm not gonna buy a movie at Walmart because I just know it'll go to $1.25 tree at some point, you know?
right,
Like, and so I might as well just wait. It might be a year or two, but like,
yeah.
do I really need it? Because it's streaming. Because most of these movies are already streaming on Tubi, or something.
Well, and
It's
Tubi's another one that doesn't release physical media. I mean, they have all those
right,
Tubi originals and Terror Train 1 and 2, and they did the remake of Amityville Curse, and they have all these original movies that just do not come out.
no. They don't, but you can go find them on Tubi. And you know what's going to happen is one day they're just going to get rid of some of the ones that are there, that aren't doing very well, and
Well,
like,
they
oh, this
do.
isn't,
They do. They have their leaving soon area. But I think some of that is that it's just in a circle.
right,
They'll Bad News Bears, just as an example, will be on there for a few years, and it's like, oh, leaving in a month, and then like in a couple of years it would be back on.
right, or
But
even less. I mean, because they kind of do that. That's how they dupe you to watching is like you see that it's leaving in 2 days, and then you're like, oh my God, this movie's leaving in 2 days. I gotta watch it now, you know. And you know, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but it's how they get you, you know?
well,
Like,
and I'm a giant hypocrite because if Tubi sat there and said, "Hey, we saw one of your movies. We want to know if you want to make a movie." Oh, is it gonna have a physical copy? No. Okay, no problem. Where's the script? I'll make it.
well, I mean, of
So
course it's not gonna, if it's a Tubi original, it's not gonna have a physical copy. They don't do that right now. Maybe
no,
they'll
but
one
they should.
day get into it, but um, I think they're just making enough money on digital alone, and that's the thing. Maybe that just costs too much to make a Blu-ray for them. I mean, they might make the money back, but they might not, and it's a risk, that a lot of uh streaming companies are afraid to take, you know. Like,
Just
will
do
it do
video on
well? Will it do?
demand.
It's true. I mean, yeah, pay for them like Amazon does that a lot. You gotta pay $3 to $4 to rent a movie. Somebody was mentioning to me the other day, it was so funny that we spend $5 renting a movie at our video stores, you know, and everything. And yet, but now we can, Shutter was $5 a month, But I mentioned now there's Shutter, there's Disney Plus, so that's five, 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 five. There there wasn't multiple stores I would go to buy, to get movies. I would go to one store, rent one movie for $5. And that's kind of like Redbox, now, you know. So, I mean, it is
Hmm.
we live in a way where we can get any kind of movie, not all on physical media, but we can watch almost anything, at some point. We could buy something or we could watch it on streaming. So we do live in a fantastic age right now that we shouldn't ever really be complaining about, you know, because there is so much movies we can watch, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but it just could be better. I mean, any, you know,
That's true, but
I
it
mean,
always
I,
could be
as you
better.
know, I collect the Amityville horror movies, so I want the Amityville Curse. I want Tubi's Amityville Curse, and the only way I'm going to get it is if somebody downloaded it from them, and then there's the,
The
then they
bootleg,
put out a bootleg of it. Yeah, then
mm,
I'll own it. I'll have it there. But that's, you got to go through all that to get what you want. So
it
instead
kind
of
of
just
sucks.
doing it, yeah. So it
Oh
is what it
well,
is.
well. And on that note, that down note right there of this sucks, but okay, we're gonna end it. But no, I do believe this is a great time for us right now, but it could be better. I agree. It's just I like to think of the positives, and not as much on the negatives. And I think that maybe more people will see that streaming is a good way to get people in to a movie, to like let somebody see a movie. Like some people might want to watch a movie on Max, that's Criterion, before they actually go buy the Criterion film on, or whatnot. And another idea is like that some Netflix movies are went to Criterion. So Criterion will pick up some Netflix, not all of them, obviously. They have to be like the better ones, but there are some movies that they have picked up, like the Irishman, which was a Netflix original, you know, that's on Criterion. So if more companies like that were to make deals with Netflix, that would be great, you know. So we
Mhm.
can see some of those films,
Sure.
and I own them. But and then we can watch them on Netflix first and see if we actually want to own them, and then go out and own them, you know. But I think if it's Martin Scorsese, you're most likely already going to collect it, if you're a fan, of his work.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I'm a big fan of his work. So I haven't owned the Irishman yet. It's on my list, but I have a huge list, you know. Anyway, everybody, thank you guys for checking this out. Join me in 2 more weeks where I have another person coming on the show, and we will be discussing physical media and chatting about it. Until then, everybody, bye.
Bye.